Today we're going to learn how to make this creamy, delicious cheese sauce. It's really simple to do. You don't need a lot of ingredients. You need some freshly grated cheese, some flour, some butter, some spices, and then some milk. Depending on how rich you want it, you can even use cream. On the stovetop, you want to turn it to a medium heat and get it nice and warm, and then add in 2 tablespoons of butter or 30 grams. You want to cook this until it starts to become really nice and bubbly, and I like to use a whisk, but you can use a wooden spoon if you like as well. Now don't use metal utensils on nonstick cookware. Make sure to use something that is appropriate for your pan. This is not nonstick, so I'm not worried about using metal. Now you just want to move this butter around constantly while it melts, and that keeps it from burning. You don't want brown butter at this point, because if you do, it can tend to separate the cheese sauce in the end. So you want to make it where it's just starting to bubble gently, and then add in your flour. The flour is used as a thickening agent. So once you start seeing it bubbling like this, you're going to add in 3 tablespoons of flour or 30 grams. And then you're just going to mix it together until it forms something called a roux. A roux is basically equal parts of fat and flour, and it's a thickening agent. That's all it is. It's just a fancy word for thickener. Now you're just going to whisk this until it cooks completely, and it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. You'll start to see it turn a nice golden brown, and that's when you're ready. Once it looks like this, we're going to add in our milk, and we're going to add in 2 cups or 480 milliliters. You want to add it in just a little bit at a time, a couple tablespoons or about 1/4 cup. And the reason why you want to do that is because you don't want it to be lumpy. You want to add it in very gradual until you get up to about a cup mark. Once you get to that cup mark, then you can add in the rest, because it's already thinned out enough that it's not going to be lumpy anymore. And this will take just a few minutes, maybe about 3 to 5 minutes total as you go. What is so neat about this is as you add the milk, you will see the flour just absorb it like a little sponge, and it looks like the milk just completely disappears. That's supposed to happen, and that is what it means by it's thickening up the milk. If you just tried to cook this with milk without the flour and the butter, you wouldn't have a thick consistency. It would just be runny cheese. Continue to do this until you have 1 cup of the milk already into the sauce. At that point, you want to add in your spices. Now the spices are completely optional, but the spices do help bring out the flavor and color of the cheese sauce. So I will tell you which ones that I recommend definitely using, and the ones you can do without if you don't have them on hand. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of paprika, 2 grams, 1/2 teaspoon of ground mustard, that's 1 gram, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 grams, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, that's 0.5 grams. Now out of all the spices that you want to have, I do recommend the paprika. The paprika helps it stay really nice and vividly orange as it cooks. The rest of them you can leave out. You can add the salt at the end for taste, because some cheeses are saltier than others. Then you're just going to add in the remaining cup of milk, turn the heat down to low, and cook it 5 to 10 minutes or until the sauce thickens. It will look like this when all the milk is added. Now once it has thickened and you have it on low heat, you're going to add in some cheese, and you want to add it in just a little bit at a time, 4 cups total or 1 pound. And the reason why you add it in a little bit at a time at a simmering level is because you will split the cheese if you add it in too much. And what I mean by splitting is it'll get an oily texture. So don't rush this step. Now at the end it might look lumpy like this. That is completely normal. Just keep stirring it on a low heat. Don't crank up that heat. You want it to stay at a low heat, and just keep stirring it. Eventually it will look like this. Nice thick cheese sauce that is ready for dipping. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Here are your ingredients if you want to follow along. Thank you for visiting us at jacksonsjob.com. And as always, happy baking.